Hello, everyone, and welcome to my presentation. My name is Claire O'Leary, and today I am going to be talking about the Right on Crime organization, which is a conservative criminal justice reform organization in Texas. So first I'm going to talk about the background of the organization, and then I'm going to jump into some of their important initiatives. It is a national campaign that began in Texas in 2007. It's led by the Texas Public Policy Foundation, so it's government funded, and the organization focuses on criminal justice reform, including reducing crime, restoring victims, reforming offenders, and in turn lowering taxes for our citizens. So I'm going to go over three important initiatives that the organization has. But first I'm going to talk about some of the other ones that the program also has. They have a correctional leadership network. They have civil asset forfeiture, a juvenile justice program, and an adult probation program. The three important initiatives I want to go over are parole and reentry, over-criminalization, and law enforcement because of sort of how they relate to our class and sort of how they differ as well. So the first I want to talk about is the parole and reentry. This program focuses on the relationship between going on parole and then being able to reenter into society in a way in which will keep criminals out of prison for a second time. Parole is a way in which can be used to help offenders from actually re-offending again and ending up back in prison. Some of the solutions that this program offers are risk assessments to see who would do well out in society on a parole basis. And this program also would allow for non-violent criminals to have access to parole opportunities. And in order to do this, they would use a GPS technology to monitor those. That way they can, see their whereabouts and still have some access to what they're doing while they're focusing on rehabilitation and hopefully re-entering into society when the parole is over. Now I'm going to talk about over-criminalization. This program, they're focused on eliminating harmless activities such as business-related activities, which is interesting because it's something that we didn't necessarily talk about in class, but makes a lot of sense that it would be a part of this organization because it is very conservative. Some of the right on crime solutions include eliminating some criminal offenses that are used to regulate businesses. They want fines and market forces to actually be the regulator of business activities rather than having, criminal sanctions and things imposed on them. And they would do this by revising laws and punishing traditional crimes rather than business crimes. And lastly, I want to talk about the law enforcement initiative. The program is focused on ensuring that not only does law enforcement obviously protect the community, but also becomes a part of the community. We've seen in recent years sort of the militarization of the police, and this has really shed light negatively on sort of the power hungry dynamic that there sometimes is when it comes to law enforcement. And I think this is really projecting, sort of a negative view on law enforcement. But rather this program is focused on serving the community and seeing them in a good way. Some of the solutions would include increasing community engagement, so getting out in the community and making themselves known in a positive way, and then establishing hiring and training standards, which I think is hugely important, and I'll get into later a little bit more. And then also establishing proper methods of using the police resources like we talked about with technology in our class. So some of the consistencies with our class is the program obviously focuses on the over-criminalization and overabundance of criminals in the carceral state at this time. Where I do think it's a little misguided is that they're focused on those that who are being prosecuted for business-related activities rather than some of what we've seen in terms of racial and systemic oppression. Another consistency would be the ways in which the program is searching for assistance into the re-entry into society. Like I talked about before, they're looking for parole and like rehabilitation methods, so that way we get more people out of prison and hopefully out of reoffending. And then also the program focuses on police reform and education. Again, this is something that we've talked a lot about in class and would be an extremely important method to help our carceral state in the United States. Some of the inconsistencies would be that the program obviously focuses on business-related activities. This is something that we didn't really touch on at all in class. And again, I think it's a little misguided in terms of where the overcriminalization is coming from, rather than focusing on the racial and systemic oppression and the disproportionate amount of non-white people who are currently in the prison system. I think through the reform in education, it would make the most sense to be focusing on the racial profiling and the misuse of technology and, all of those things that are contributing so negatively at the moment. And then lastly, do I support this program or not? I think I support the ideas of law enforcement reform in terms of, education and using the resources correctly and also getting out more in the community in terms of being able to be seen in a positive way. And then also the idea of having there be rehabilitation and parole methods in order to assist in the reentry of offenders. And then I think that this program is obviously very misguided in terms of the overcriminalization and where it's coming from. And for that reason, I can't support this program in its entirety. Thank you so much for listening.